If my 45-year-old self can actually sit down with my 25-year-old self, there are 5 things that I would tell her about money that would have completely changed my financial future. And not because that I think I failed, but because nobody actually taught me these things. So if you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s, I hope that these 5 lessons save you years of learning the hard way. So let's start with the lesson that would have made the biggest difference. Start investing early. I do not know why in my 20s and 30s, I truly believed that investing was for people who had money, and I needed to wait until I had money. I don't know who taught me that. I don't know why I came up with that assumption, but that's what I felt and that's what I thought. So for so many years, I avoided investing a lot of money because I felt like it wouldn't make a difference. Here's the truth though. You do not need a lot of money. You just need more time. Compound interest is the person's friend when they start early, because people who start early, they give themselves decades for their money to grow. And even the smallest investments can turn into hundreds or even thousands of dollars years from now. If I would have learned that or understood that concept early, I would have started with as little as $2 a month. I don't care. The point is to be consistent and then increase the money as your income grows. And I wish I would have learned that simple concept early on, because when I look back in my 20s and 30s, I had $2. I had $5. I even had 10, maybe even 20. If I would have just been consistent with that, my financial future would be looking different at this point. And if I would have started investing earlier, there's one account that I wish someone would have explained to me: a Roth IRA. Now, people have mentioned this before. It's not like I've never heard of it until I hit my 40s. I became an entrepreneur at the age of 21. So I had started to work for myself very early on. Then I went into the job market. I became a teacher and I worked for 4 years. You guys hear my story if you are familiar with my channel, that I was laid off 4 years in a row due to budget cuts during the 2008 crash. And it was very hard for me to keep a job. And so that's what made me take the full plunge into entrepreneurship. So with that being said, I didn't have a lot of time in the job market to really have a 401k or a Roth IRA. I was literally working a job. Maybe I worked for 6 years or so. And then because I was a childcare site director for the YMCA for 2 years, and I know I had a retirement account because that money came to me randomly in 2020. And then I worked for the school district, and that was STIR's retirement, and that money came to me as well. So I did have a little bit of money, but when I looked at it, it was like $12,000, y'all. It wasn't a lot. And so with that being said, I didn't have a lot of years in corporate America. So with that being said, from very early on at the age of like 27, I had to teach myself a lot of these things. And even though I heard of a Roth IRA, I didn't really open one up until my 30s. And the thing about it is, if someone would have explained to me the opportunity for your investments to grow tax-free and what that means when you hit retirement age, I truly believe that I would have started and I would have been consistent with it. And because retirement, now that I'm learning in my 40s, isn't something that you should start later on in life. It just makes it harder. It's something that you need to start thinking about earlier in life. And I get it, because when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're not thinking about getting older and retiring, right? You're thinking about going out with your friends, hanging out, fun, working, doing what you got to do to keep a roof over your head. But, you're doing your thing. So it didn't fit my lifestyle at that point. And even though I dived into entrepreneurship at that age, I was just trying to hustle and make a name for myself and build a business. So my thought process was build a successful company, and then you don't have to worry about retirement because your company is going to pay for your retirement, right? And that was the way I always thought. I always thought make the money first. And so if I would have opened up a Roth IRA as soon as possible as I was eligible, I think it would have made a big difference, because the earlier you start, the more time your investments have to compound. And that's something that I'm now learning in my 40s, unfortunately. Now, this next lesson seems quite simple, but it really made a big difference with how I think about saving. For many years, I've always kept my savings with a traditional bank. And we all know that traditional banks only pay you 0.01% interest on your money, which equates to about $1 per year. Opening up a high yield savings account while your money is sitting there, you're earning anywhere between 3 and 4% APY. That is a huge difference. And so one of the benefits is your money is accessible as you are building and growing your emergency fund, but also now you're making money from your money, and that interest can now be invested. And so here's something that I wish I would have learned even just 10 years ago, is to keep my money in a bank that's actually earning a higher APY. The reason being is because I can now use that money to fund my future. It literally took me 5 minutes to switch, and I wish I would have done it a lot sooner. But the good thing is now I have my money actually working for me. Then I realized something that completely changed the way I think about financial security. I understood that one paycheck will not be enough, because relying on one stream of income is very risky, especially in this economy. And that hit me very early in 2024. That's when I realized, wait a minute, something doesn't feel right. I can't keep going down this path. I was drained doing one-on-one coaching, but also the anxiety that I felt every month. Am I going to sign up new clients? How am I going to find new clients? It was too much. It was too much. I was wearing myself thin, hosting monthly challenges, 5-day challenges, and it just seemed like a model that I would not be able to sustain for the next 5-10 years. And that's when it hit me. How can I package what I know into digital assets that I can sell in perpetuity? And that's when I knew that my business model had to switch. So I started to look into digital products. I had already been creating digital products for decades, for years. I created curriculums for school districts and government agencies. I already had a suite. I had probably over 100 digital products that I had already created for my coaching clients and my offers, but I just wasn't selling them in bundles, and I also wasn't selling them on their own. It was something that I was using with my coaching and my consulting packages. And so once I realized this is the model that I wanted to go into, that's when my other streams began to kind of flourish and come about. So my streams of income, as I mentioned in most of my videos, are digital products, affiliate marketing, brand collaborations, of course, coaching, consulting, market research, and content monetization. Now, when you look at all of my 7 streams, it's not like I'm working 7 jobs. My job as a business coach and as a content creator, all 7 streams fit together. I'm doing the same thing every single day, creating content, and I'm making money from doing that. I'm bringing in clients, I'm bringing in brand collaborations, I'm bringing in affiliate partnerships, I'm making money on my content, which is content monetization. I'm doing consulting with brands, market research based off of my skill set when it comes to content creation and social media. So everything that I'm doing is essentially around business and content. And so this is what I want you to start thinking about. Whatever it is that you're doing, I want you to take your one stream and start to think about how you can expand that stream into various income streams, because that is what led me to my multiple streams. It wasn't something that I just came up with overnight, but I started to think about, oh, wait a minute, I'm already doing this. Let me do more of it. Wait, I've tried this. Let me do more of it. So start with one and then build as you go along. And finally, this is the lesson that I wish someone would have been honest with me about. So for a very long time, honestly, I just found out literally this week, who am I kidding? I believed that Social Security was for people who worked a 9-to-5. I did not realize that I was paying into Social Security every single year when I was paying my self-employment tax. And I believe that I saw it when I would do my income tax with my accountant. But again, it didn't click. It wasn't like I was depending on that. Depending on Social Security is not a retirement plan, because when you really break down the average amount that a retired worker receives every year, it's barely enough to live off of, especially if you live in a state like California. So what I realized is that number one, I can never depend on one source. So whether that's Social Security, whether that's my Roth IRA, I will never, ever, ever, ever again depend on one source for anything. And that's why I'm spending the next 20 plus years building and investing and really building my plan, which is saving, obviously, investing in my Roth IRA, my SEP IRA, as well as my brokerage account, and building multiple income streams to fund all of those things. Because the moment you rely on one income is the moment where an emergency happens or life happens, and then now you are stuck and you've hit rock bottom. That's not going to ever happen to me again. So the focus is now to, yes, I want to retire hopefully in the next 10 years, if not 20 years. But the point is, when I actually get there, I have choices. Okay. Choices is what's going to matter when you hit that age of 65. So if I can tell my 25-year-old self one last final thing, I would say this to her: start now. Not when you feel like everything is perfect. Not when you feel like you have enough money. Not next year. Now. Because here's the thing, 20 years is going to pass by whether you feel ready or not. So you might as well start now. Here's a question that I want to ask you. What is one thing that you wish you would have learned about money in your younger years? Go ahead and put that in the comment. I am very curious, and I love reading these because there's so many things that I thought, okay, I was the only one, but clearly I'm not. So let's go ahead and share those in the comments. And if you are new to my channel, I want to welcome you. All of my newbies, I want to say welcome to my community. I have been enjoying these past several, I would say, weeks and just seeing all of your guys' stories. I love that because you do not know how many people you're helping, and you are also helping me. Every time I see someone comment, keep going, you're encouraging me, this is my journey, this is my experience, you are inspiring me. So keep commenting, keep sharing. This is how we're gonna grow as a community together and just help one another as we are embarking on this journey to building financial freedom in our 40s, 50s, 60s, even 30s and up. So, like I always say, if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Dupe Alaru, and this was your Daily Dose with Dupe. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to subscribe and come back because I do post a daily dose every single day. Until next time, I want to wish you all a beautiful and blessed day.